Anyway, it's really good to see you all. It's been quite a while since I've had an opportunity to give a Dharma talk and see all your faces. A lot of people that I don't know, and a lot of people that I do. This morning I got up and the sky was bright and sunny, and right now the clouds are rolling in, and I've heard some thunder, so it looks like we're going to get some precipitation pretty quick. We kind of need it up here. Apparently, there is a drought going on. So anyway, with that, the other day I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was telling me that after having abusive relationships in the past, that she had finally met somebody that she really clicked with and she really liked a lot. They have a lot in common, but she was concerned that if she started to have a deeper relationship with the fellow, that it might suddenly end. She told me that he had medical issues, and she was worried that she might lose him because of a sudden stroke. What to do? Go into a relationship knowing of this risk and the pain that may follow if he dies, or to take a chance and possibly have a wonderful shared life together? On hearing this, my heart really went out to her. What a predicament. How can you take on something that you know will come to an end? Well, but isn't that just how it is anyway? It really is like that. You never know how it's going to go. From day to day, we don't know what's coming next. We know we could wake up in the morning and everything goes sideways, or we could have just a super marvelous day. A good part of our lives are spent protecting ourselves from the discomfort or fear that we have. I wanted to give her some advice, but instead I just listened, and I have to say, not giving advice is difficult for me. I love to give advice, but I was able to keep quiet for a change. Anyway, that evening, I'm sorry, that is understanding that everything is constantly changing can be disquieting, and yet it's freeing. Rather than wasting time holding on, we can be free to just take things as they come. Not blindly, but with our eyes wide open. It's easier said than done, isn't it? But at times the opportunity comes up, and it can be quite wonderful, and at other times, not so much. But as my mother used to say to me, all good things come to an end. And I say, all bad things can come to an end too, can't they? Everything does. The story above and the fact that I just recently turned 77 has brought me to reflect on the evening gata. I remember being at the Zendo early on and coming in on Tuesday evenings, and I think the first time I heard it, I think it was Bokushu chanting it. And from that very time I heard it, it grabbed me and it gave me a good shake. We don't know the precise origin of the gata. The word gata comes from a Sanskrit root meaning to sing or chant or recite. And as I understand it, the evening gata was used in HonGō's lineage in 9th century China. HonGō was a teacher of Linji, to whom today's Rinzai tradition is traced. So the evening gata has been around a long time, about 1100 years. The evening gata says, "Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed, do not squander your life. Taizan Maizumi Roshi said that the evening gata is exactly what zazen is about. This gata asks us to look at life and death and be aware of our mortality and impermanence. This isn't morbid, but asks us to be present to our lives, to be aware that everything is changing. How is that? What do I see when I look in a mirror? Knowing that everything will be changed before I even am aware of it. Everything is changing all at once, and that includes you and me. How do each of us fit into the maelstrom of existence? As far as I remember, the first time I was aware at all of impermanence was when I was around 19. I lived close to the ocean in Southern California. I would often go to the Palos Verdes cliffs and go down to the tide pools where there were all kinds of sea life. There were sea urchins, sea anemones, abalone, you name it. And that really fascinated me. I used to go down and just spend hours playing in the tide pools. One day I was sitting on the cliff. I was just watching the waves break on the rocks below. And it hit me that I would never see that again. Not that exact wave, exactly like that. It was beautiful. And I just sat there watching for quite a while. The experience faded from my memory pretty quickly. And that was that. But once in a while it would come back to mind. It was interesting. I didn't see anything really significant in it. Then I remember when I hit 50 and I got a letter from AARP asking me to join. Boy, was I insulted. How dare them categorize me as old? And I didn't want the senior discounts either. I didn't need to have their help. I tried with all my might to close my mind to the whole idea. It took me a while to get over it too. But it passed, as all things do. I'd seen my parents go downhill. My dad had Alzheimer's, and my mother was bound and determined to take care of him. And I admired her devotion. But by the time he died, she was worn out and had had enough, and would sit in the living room in her nightgown, which was really unheard of for her. I wasn't going to let myself get that way. I was somehow going to avoid it all. I didn't want to look. But here I am, looking at what the evening gata has to say. I first heard the gata just before my wife and I started taking care of our parents as their health declined. The gata made being their caretaker so much easier for me. But I couldn't say exactly why. It kind of brought it all together. Maybe not all together, but made me aware of the importance of waking up to what's taking place right now, and that all things pass. Just what I didn't understand sitting on the cliff, watching the waves when I was in my teens. I was up to my neck in impermanence, and it was a great lesson for me, and I was so grateful that I had it. Um, Things like that don't come along just every day. And as George Harrison said, life goes on within you and without you. Now I'd like to take a look at the Gatha a bit. Let me respectfully remind you. It's reminding us to remember to awaken from our slumber, our dullness, or our avoidance. And it's amazing to me that I can hear the Gatha, and I've heard it many times, and not really pay any attention to it, almost like it's just something in the background. Life and death are of supreme importance. In the Shobogenzo Zuimoki, Ehe Dogen says, life and death are the great matter. Everything is impermanent and changes swiftly. Everything changes. You, me, the trees, the mountains, valleys, skies, society, you name it, and it will change, and does change. The Gatha is saying life and death, impermanence, are to be experienced, not just read about in books. Not to say that reading in books isn't a good idea. What's most important is to see and experience it in our own life. More often than not, the chances are imperceivable and go unnoticed, and it's said that the changes go on at a rate that's so great that I can't personally hold it in my mind. I've heard that it's something like 5 billion times in a day. There is beauty and tragedy in existence. It's unavoidable, and being aware of it enables us to really have great appreciation and compassion for everyone and everything. All beings are living this. And I see that I've had many wonderful experiences and many really unpleasant experiences as well. But in the long run, I've been lucky and had a pretty good life. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. There are innumerable opportunities to practice, and those opportunities can be gone in a flash. But luckily, there will always be one that comes up right after it, and right after that, and right after that, and right after that. So you may miss one, but there will be other opportunities. Right now, at this time in my life, I'm very aware of aging, and it gets more obvious as the days go on. The days seem to zip by. It's probably always been that way, but I'm just aware of it more now. It's an amazing experience, and I'm finding aging very interesting. I'm really kind of enjoying it. My wife and I, sitting in the bed and drinking coffee in the morning, often talk about it, and we find great amusement in it, and very often wind up just sitting there laughing. There are many things that we want to do and think are important in our lives. We often bypass them or forget about them. Some of the things that hold us back are quite legitimate, and others are just avoidance. I think it's important to look at that. How many things are holding us back? What's holding us back? More often than not, it's just me. There is no reset button in our life, and there have been times I would have wished for one. But looking at my life right now, right at this very moment, I'm glad there wasn't, because it's very possible I wouldn't be giving a Dharma talk right here. And my life for sure would be very different. And I have no idea how that might be. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed. Reflect seriously and pay attention to life and death and impermanence, the great matter. Do not squander your life. Squander your life means wasting your precious time and opportunity to cultivate wisdom and compassion, which are so important for living a meaningful and fulfilling life. It's about missing the chance to engage with the present moment fully, to practice mindfulness, and to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Zen master Sun San once said, "Human life has no meaning, no reason, and no choice. But we have our practice to help us to understand our true self. Then we can change no meaning to great meaning, which means great love. We can change no reason to great reason, which means great compassion." We are reminded to expose ourselves to the reality of life and death and impermanence. I saw it as an observer sitting on the cliffs in Palos Verdes and was unaware that I was not separate from it. It wasn't until I heard the evening Gata that it started sinking in, that exposing myself to life and death and impermanence was of such great importance, and not to be sidestepped or blown off. This is something that's important to look at any time in our lives. The sooner the better. Not just when you get the aches and pains of old age. Change can be so disquieting, and it's very easy to overlook how amazing and wonderful and beautiful it can be. This is a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, I think, that sums it up nicely. We are often sad and suffer a lot when things change, but change and impermanence have a positive side. Thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Life itself is possible. If a grain of corn is not impermanent, it can never transform into a stalk of corn. If the stalk of corn were not impermanent, it could never provide us with the ear of corn we eat. If your daughter is not impermanent, she can grow up to be a woman. Then your grandchild would never manifest. So instead of complaining about impermanence, we should say, warm welcome, and love life's impermanence. We should be happy. Then when we see the miracle of impermanence, our sadness and suffering will pass. And back to the beginning, the friend I was telling you about earlier, last I heard, is still enjoying her newfound relationship with the fellow she met. And she is very happy. So I hope it continues that way. I'd like to end with an excerpt from Mary Oliver's A Summer's Day. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is your plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thank you.